ಸಂತೋಷ್ ಜಿ ಅವರೇ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮಿತ್ರ ಅನಿಲ್ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ ಅವರೇ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬಂಧುಗಳೇ, ಇವತ್ತು ಬಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟು ಭಾಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಕ್ಷಮಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ. ಫಾರ್ ದೋಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಸ್ born after independence, sometimes we don't think of the constitution. But why is the constitution important to all of us? We must understand what India was at the time India got a freedom. There's something called the British India, a colony of Great Britain, and there was the India of kingdoms. 545 odd kingdoms were there. In those kingdoms, the Raja was the sovereign. The Raja had the right of life and death on the subjects, and people there were subjects of the king. The king decided. There were some laws, and in British India, there were laws. The British ruled as per the laws, but the white man was supreme. The Queen of England was supreme. The British were supreme. Yes, they had the Viceroy's Council, they had the Government of India Act and the Central Legislature in 1935, but all of them were supreme to the white man. And we Indians did not have much freedom. So we fought for freedom, and then our founding fathers got together to give us this constitution. And this constitution gives us our rights, recognizes for what we are. Our rights as citizens do not come from a family, do not come from a political party, do not come from any individual. It comes from a constitution. And the constitution was created, given to ourselves by the people of India. We the people. So we the people means all of us sat down together through our representatives who formed this great constitution and gave it to ourselves. So we adopted it, and it is what rules over us. That is the rule of law, and we should never forget it. So if we sit down today as free Indians, free to talk, free to do what we want, subject to the law, and we have our rights of equality, of freedom of association, the freedom of religion, all this freedom is because of the Constitution. And let us not forget that. And if the promise made, the Constitution is not given to people, we can go to the Supreme Court of India, and the Supreme Court of India will always protect us and enforce those rights. And should the Supreme Court not do that and fail the people of India, as happened in the habeas corpus case when India was under the emergency, then we the people of India have to rise up together to protect the Constitution and tell the court that it is not fulfilled its obligation. So freedom belongs to individuals. I think that's the important message we must carry. We are free beings. In political theory, every human being is born free. We are born free. We are not subjects. We are not a property. We are born free. And we as citizens give the rights given to us by Almighty God. Whoever that God is, wherever the God is, even if the God is not there, whoever that is given to us, that right we give it to our representatives who rule on our behalf in a legislature and make laws and rules to govern us subject to the Constitution. So the laws of Parliament, the laws of the legislature are subject to the constitutional law made by a Constituent Assembly, and that is very important. And there it is we who are given a freedom to our representatives, and those representatives have to rule in our name. They are not our masters. An MP is not our master. A minister is not our master. We don't have to stand in front of him like that. No, he is our representative. He is our voice, because we the people have given him the authority. We must always remember that. Never bow your head before any minister because he happens to be a minister, because he is your representative. Please remember that. We respect our leaders, we talk to them with honor, but we are the source of power. We are sovereign, subject to the Constitution. Now, when the Constitution was designed, when the Constitution discussed, Dr. Ambedkar, as the chairman of the drafting committee and formerly the law member of the Viceroy's Council, thought widely what kind of a country should we create. India was a collection of states. India was a colony. India has many languages, many religions, so many things. Our civilization united us, but we had no political union. We are all separate. But our civilization was there for thousands of years. We bound together by common means of civilization. So when you create a country, a political union, what kind of country should we create? That was in the minds of all our great leaders who fought for freedom, and that is in the mind of Dr. Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar is a double doctorate. He's a great scholar, a man of great achievement, and he was a person who fought for equality in a society because he suffered the indignity of being born in certain castes where there was discrimination. And he fought against discrimination all his life. He came up by sheer scholarship. So now, when young people in JNU agitate for so many things, they must emulate Dr. Ambedkar. They must study. They must get 2 PhD degrees. They must get Vidya, they must get Jnana, and then they must go agitate after they finish education. And Dr. Ambedkar was such a scholar. Wherever he spoke, whatever he spoke, people listened with rapt attention. And he was a man greatly honored all across India. And he was chosen by the Constitutional Assembly to be the chairman of the drafting committee. To him we owe a great debt of gratitude. And like Anil said, in the Constitutional Assembly, everything was debated. The idea of India was debated. The idea of India is not given by Pandit Nehru. It's not given by Congress party. It's not given by Ramchandra Guha. It's not given by anybody who write books. The idea of India was given by the people of India in the Constitutional Assembly, and the Constitution says what the idea of India is. Please remember that. Idea of India is not given by anybody. If a political person said, oh, the idea of India is damaged, you must protect it, I don't know what idea of India it is, maybe the family's idea. But the idea of India is strong, secure in the Constitution, all of you can read it and all of you can understand it. It is of a sovereign republic created by the people of India, which guarantees the rights of its citizens. And that cannot change. So when Dr. Ambedkar started his work, they want to define it. They defined it and created a constitution based on individual human rights. Please remember that. They said, what are the rights a human being should enjoy? What the right every citizen of India, every man, woman of India, every child of India from the time of birth till they go meet a maker, what are the rights we should do? They looked at all the constitutions of the world and they came out with this model where we have a fundamental rights which are to be protected, and the state is charged with the duty of ensuring that the constitution works to the benefit of all people. Now basically there are 2 kinds of constitution in the world, the American and the French one, and the British one. In the British constitution, which is unwritten, the king was the sovereign. The king had all the power, people were subjects, property of the king, chattel of the king. So when the king went to war, he called these people, they had to fight for him because they were chattel, they were property, they were serfs. Please remember that. They were property, and women were property of their masters. And the people fought against him in the Magna Carta, took some rights. So went on fighting against the king and took some rights, created a parliament. They had the right for the parliament to make laws. So the rights were taken from the king. What rights were not given to the people in the constitution still belongs to the king, even today. But the Americans did something else very differently. They said, we will give power to the government to rule. The government is created by us, by the constitution. What is not given to the government as power will be the power of the people, which will be undefined. So people are sovereign. People are born free. They are the right owners and rulers of the country. They have a Congress, they have a House of Representatives and Senate, and they will rule as per the power given the Constitution. What is not in the Constitution, unconstitutional, but the power is limited. Here in India, we follow the British rule where they have unlimited powers because they can take more of the powers. The powers can be whatever it is, but in the American Constitution, they define the powers of the government so that the rest of the power is people. They are the freest society in the world. We must realize that. It's very important for us to realize how they construct. So a constitution is based upon the power. Then they decided what kind of a country should it be. Then they said we'll have a union of states. We'll have states, various regions, not on linguistic grounds. And then we'll have a central government, union of states. India is a union of states. And union means the union of states that rules all India will have a parliament, and parliamentarians will make law, and the law will be defined in parts of the constitution. In the union list, the concurrent list, and the state list. The state will have a legislation. People will vote for the local representative, and they created this group to make sure that there is no power concentrated in any one body or any one individual. We must remember that. If power is concentrated in any one individual, like it happened when Indira Gandhi imposed her emergency, and all the members of a party who where castrated people did not fight, did not protest the abrogation of a freedom, power was constant. One party is not to be done. It was designed as a union of states. Then we had the states reorganized under the linguistic states for whatever reason. So we are a union of states, and each state and the center rules, and some have become union territories, which I'm sure Santoshji will dwell on, including the latest what happened, which is very, very good for India. So that was the construct. Then each of these had powers, and the central government had certain powers to protect the boundaries of this country, to maintain internal law and order, both the union and the state, to ensure the delivery of justice, to ensure currency and ensure foreign exchange. And they also decided that we must create a society based upon equality. And when you get society based upon equality, the state should provide public goods like education, health to its people, and create an egalitarian society. So they wanted to make sure that worked. Then we had this fundamental problem of untouchability at that point of time. Some parts of our society were considered untouchable for whatever reason, and it was banned in the constitution. Untouchability is hereby banned. With one sentence, they removed the infirmity which many people suffered. Yes, they're still being implemented. There's still some people in some remote parts who follow that, but that should go. And they also said, we have some disadvantaged peoples in our society, and for those people we must make special rights. What are the special rights? We shall give them reservations because they suffered in the past. It is supposed to be 10 years, it's gone on for 70 years, and maybe it will go on. We have to wait and see. So they created structures to take care of every individual. They wanted to bring Ramaraja. Ramaraja, in everybody has the necessities of life, and everybody can make a good living and live with honesty and dignity. That was the ambition in their thing. Then they created a court of justice. Supreme Court to be independent, a constitutional authority. The High Courts to be independent. And the justices will make sure that justice is given to people. And if anybody goes to the court and knocks on the door, the court shall give justice. For a period of time, the Supreme Court has extended its own power. It has become a power into ourselves, in itself. It appoints its own justices. Many things have happened which are not possibly envisaged in the Constitution. But the Supreme Court and the courts give us justice. It also said the military will be under civilian control. When the Viceroy was there, the Commander-in-Chief was part of the Viceroy's Council. They said the military will be under civilian control. Our neighbor Pakistan suffered coups. India will not suffer any coups because the military knows what it has to do and it is under civilian control. So it has been designed. And then they also thought, how do we amend the Constitution? Because they wrote this wonderful document and they had to, how will they amend it? They came with the process for amendment and they did it in a very beautiful way. So we had this grand design, a vision of India, the idea of India based upon individuals, based upon the right of citizens, and the state to be benign, the state to rule on our behalf. The state should ensure justice, equality of opportunity to everybody, and the state has to protect this country, secure the life, liberty and property of every Indian Indian. That was the dream. And that is the dream we have to sustain and carry with us. And that is why all of us in this room, all citizens in this country should cherish the Constitution, should honor the Constitution, and should make sure the Constitution is protected. Because our founding fathers gave to us this document. The freedom fighters gave to us. Many thousands and lakhs of men and women gave their life. The poorest of the poor gave their lives to fight for freedom. And they fought for that freedom without hatred. They did not raise the arm in protest when somebody pointed a gun. If somebody points a gun at you and says, I am superior to you, and says, I am this, they said, do what you want. I will not raise my hand against you. That is raw moral courage. That's the courage every Indian has. And these are the people who sacrificed. Parda Nashi women came out. They removed all the jewelry, gave it to the freedom movement to fight for freedom. It is the mass movement of the greatest number ever in human history. And because of that movement, because the British were thrown out, 60% of humanity became free in 30-40 years. At that point of time, the European power held the whole of the world in their grip. They were ruling the world, and because India's freedom movement, the rest of the world became free. So if you see the countries today, 200 odd countries, the United Nations, most of them became free because of India. And the Indian people who fought for their freedom. But we did not resort to violence. Because if you resort to violence, tomorrow you will suffer the consequence of violence. And to those of people in Lutyens, Delhi, who stand and tell those jihadi terrorists that they're freedom fighters, I say to them, I say to them, anybody who picks a gun and shoots an innocent person is a terrorist. He doesn't deserve respect. He deserves a censure. They must be condemned, and nobody can be a person who points a gun. A person who fights for constitutional justice, a person who stands for the rights of everybody is a person we must respect, not the person who resorts to violence. Violence is not acceptable under a human country, in a human civilization, in any civilized society. Violence is not responsible. Then some people come and tell us, Constitution. Some people come, some people come and tell us, the constitution will be amended, our rights will be taken away, they do fear mongering. And they say only one party, one family, somebody, one individual can protect. That's not true. Nobody can amend the basic structure of the constitution. After the Keshavananda Bharati case, I think in 1979, when the Supreme Court by majority decision, by unanimous decision, I think held that the basic structure of the constitution cannot be amended. What is the basic structure? The preamble, the chapter on fundamental rights, the distribution of power between the executive, judiciary and the legislature, the distribution of power in the various lists and other constitutions which become the basic structure of the constitution can't be amended. Parliament cannot be amended. Even if 542 MPs come under one single party, they can't amend it. Nobody can amend it. The only amendment comes if the people of India decide that we have a constitutional assembly and we form a constitutional assembly, only that can be done. So our constitution is safe. It is safe for all time. We don't have to live under any fear. We must cherish it, we must respect it, and we must live with this. And the last point I want to say is, we must all own this constitution, because this constitution defends our right to life, our right to property, our life association, our right to religion. It defends us. And recently, in a particular case, the Supreme Court held that fundamental rights section Article 14 supersedes the right to religion. I don't think people have read that. Fundamental rights, the Tibul Talaq case is said, the fundamental right supersedes the right to religion. So religion cannot override our fundamental rights. In 1952, Dr. Ambedkar brought the Hindu Code Bill to reform Hindu society because we had a religious laws. There was much protest. People said, no, it should not be done. It should be given to everybody. But nevertheless, Dr. Ambedkar resigned because Nehru did not support him. And then the Hindu Code Bill came as the Hindu Marriage Act, etc. in 1956. So the Hindu religious practice was reformed over a period of time. And last 15 years, the Supreme Court held that a woman has a right to a father's property. It cannot go only to the son, which is welcomed by everybody because we created a modern society. And a society where men and women are equal, because that is the promise of the Constitution. So tomorrow if we have any challenges, if people say we can't have a universal civil code, it is not right, because the Hindu law was amended, Parliament passed the law, it has had to be constitutional, because fundamental rights, right to equality, right to life, right to association will be above the other rights like right to religion. It doesn't mean you don't have the right to religion. Everybody has the right to religion, because we are a state which does not have a religion. We are a state which does not have a religion, and we are a state which supports everybody. So I want to end here by praying that let God give us this strength to preserve our Constitution. Let us meet once a year, dedicate our lives to the Constitution, and let us make sure the Constitution delivers on its profit to every citizen of India, every man, woman, and child in India. Jai Hind. Thank you.